good to see everybody here today. My name is Josh McCullough. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Greenshades. Here with Kieran, who will be running through our content today. Just a reminder, this is one of many power sessions coming up. Toward the end of the content today, I will share resources and make sure that you know where to go to stay up to date and stay registered. We hope today's content's helpful. If it's helpful, I'm pretty confident the other 5 sessions are going to be helpful as well. So I'll share with you how to stay in touch and join those sessions as the year advances. And let's see, before we get into today's content, we're going to launch a quick poll here. Question is, last year, what was your biggest year-end headache last year? Options being filing deadlines, corrected forms, data accuracy, employee updates, managing multiple systems or vendors. I believe this is single choice, and that might be frustrating because all of these might have been headaches. I don't know. I certainly hope not. But we're forcing you to pick one so we can kind of see what comes out in the lead here. So, Kieran, I'm excited to get your point of view on this. We are already at 60% participation. Thanks y'all so much. Appreciate it. Let's talk about it. All right. What do we get here? Kieran, are you able to see these results? It looks like the data accuracy and employee updates came in at number 1. What is this, what you would have guessed?
It probably close to what I would have guessed. That seems to be something that is definitely a stumbling block. And one of the reasons why we try to start these conversations early in the year to make sure that we are looking for these data inaccuracies. We're trying to make sure that we are balancing and reconciling our tax forms to payroll, getting our employees involved to make sure they're accurately, recording their data, their socials, their addresses, etc. It's important to start early so that we can try to avoid these problems.
Awesome. Well, that is great because that's what we're doing here. We're diving into this maybe a little early in the season. I don't know if everybody would think this is early or right on time or late, but we're hoping to get out ahead of things today. And that's a lot of what Kieran has in store for us. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kieran. I will be back here in just a little bit to review some extra resources, some freebies and stuff and show you where you can get those. But for the next probably 20 minutes, Kieran, it is all yours.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and thank you, Josh, for the intro. So today, we're really just kind of going to lay out the roadmap, right, of where we need to be. Year end is a journey. We are trying to get there with as few road bumps as possible. So we're going to check off all of our different milestones as we go. And today we're going to kind of check where those milestones may be, kind of where we want to be as we go from November all the way through to filing deadlines and wrap up at the end. So we'll move on. And we'll dive right in. So November, right here, right now, where we need to be jumping in, right, is into that data. We want to prepare. We want to verify that data right out of the gate. We all know, right, when we are dealing with employees, if we want them all to do something, and the larger your employee base, the more this is going to hold true. So we need to ask them early and often to make sure that we are going to get as many people involved with this as possible. So right out of the gate, let's ask our employees to validate their information. Many of us are going through open enrollment right now. They're updating their dependents, their beneficiaries. Ask them to go in and check their address. Reprinting W-2 forms is a drag. It takes time. It takes effort. It costs money, particularly for those who want paper forms. So the more we can eliminate that, the better off we're going to be. Ask them as well while they're in there. Do we have your name spelled right? Do we not have that confirmation second middle name that's in there? We're not using a nickname as a first name. We want the legal name. Can you validate that what's on there matches your social security card? And of course, we're going to ask them to validate their social security numbers as well. Do they have the forms? Have they filled out all their forms appropriately? Do we have that secured? While we're going through that, we want to validate those social security numbers if possible. Greenshades, of course, partners with our partner, Mercorma. We offer a taxpayer identification number validations tool that they can use to make sure that we're getting ahead of that curve as well. It can be a costly problem as it can cost them up to $60 to $300 some in penalties per form if those are filed incorrectly. And of course, we can update and confirm W-4s and W-9s are on file with these. We'll touch base on those again in February, as of course, some of those who are, filing different ways with the W-4 will need updated forms, but we can get back to that later on. So, as we're preparing and validating, one of the stumbling blocks we see most commonly with employers is third-party sick pay. It is a complex beast. And so, preparing early, talking through this early is going to be very vital to your success in year end. And the biggest piece is communication with that insurer. Do you have an insurer who is filing W-2s for you, or are you responsible for those? Are they depositing the employer portions of FICA taxes and FUTA and SUTA, or are you responsible for those as well? Are they prepared to file an 8922, or is that your responsibility? These are the conversations that need to be had and understood early. If you are responsible for any of these filings or deposits, when are the deadlines that they have to file or give you the data, so that you know how long you have to wait before you can actually get your W-2s out with the updated data and information. So making sure that we are well ahead of the ballgame and communication is going to be vital. And so then into December. Right? December is reconciliation. And here's where we're really going to try and dig in and find that bad data if you guys are having problems here. We're going to reconcile and implement these processes. We want to make sure our 941 totals for all 4 quarters are going to match to our W-2 totals, not W-3. We're going to validate all the information against payroll to make sure that nothing was missed on those earlier quarter filings. I like to do this every quarter, honestly. We should really be pulling that W-2 summary report, validating this every time we file at 941, that our year-to-date totals are tying into what we're expecting here. But December is the absolute last chance. Get there and get it done. We want to make sure that we're checking wage bases. Social Security wage base is the big one, but we're also validating those 401k wage bases and wage deduction contributions. And of course, we're checking for benefits. If you don't have a tool like Greenshades benefits that will automatically do some of these imputed income calculations for things like group term life, then you're going to need to validate that information and make sure that you're doing those calculations. Get out ahead of it, make sure that it's accurate. These are some big pieces that can help you get ahead of the ball game and mean that you're not scrambling at the last minute in January to get these out and filed. Some key reports that we look at, right? Start with a summary report. We're going to use Greenshades. We name it simply. It's tax and wage summary report. And that's going to have kind of a high level overview of all of your payroll data that's going to match up to your 941s and to your W-3. If we need to go deeper, we need to get more granular. We've got a tax and wage detail report. Many systems will have something similar. They'll have employee by employee level or even check by check level detailed information on all of these taxes, taxable wages. I'm going to drill in, check those deductions, check all of the taxable wages, and make sure that everything is validated through. If we need to do any manual adjustments or any final corrections, getting this done in early or mid-December is going to be your best bet. So we're not trying to do this after the year has rolled over. You need to make sure that you're building in time and planning to have corrections and post them. So moving into January, we've got to make sure that we are staying on time through January and staying compliant with our year-informed schedules. So this is when we want to make sure, as we've reached out to our employees, that we've got electronic consent forms filled in. How many W-2 forms are we going to be printing versus the ones that we can post electronically online? Do our users need updated usernames and passwords? Do they have the links and the training as to how to get those forms when they're distributed? We'll be sending out electronic communication to the employees ahead of time on how they can validate this information. Are we going to sync our information with TurboTax and H&R Block to allow for an easy filing of the 1040 by our employees? Or are we expecting them to be able to print or download these and take them themselves? These will be some efficiency steps that could potentially minimize any reprint requests, any corrections, as well as mean that we don't have to have as many people on like a call center or in an HR center to reach out to our employees as they call in for these questions or asking where they can file their taxes, etc. If you directly sync all of this and have it electronically available to them, it just means kind of an easier process for all users. As you're printing your 1099s as well, make sure you're using the correct forms. I apologize, Josh, I got a little behind. We are using the non-employee compensation or the NEC 1099 rather than miscellaneous, although miscellaneous will have its purpose there as well. So make sure we're double checking that we've got everyone lined up with the correct forms. And of course, timing is the key. Planning ahead, right? As we get closer to that final week of January, everyone else is trying to print in here. You may have slowdowns. Printers can only move so fast. Paper vendors can only deliver so much so fast. We want to make sure that we are planning ahead. We have a count of how many forms we need printed. We know that we're going to have a deadline from our printer to make sure that these are out stamped and sent out by January 31st. So make sure we order ahead. You also typically have pricing decreases or discounts if you order early enough that we can make sure that we're printing, or if you submit early enough that we can print by the end of the timing period. So making sure that also that can also save money if you're planning ahead and scheduling appropriately. And building in time for corrections. Your employees know what they're supposed to have, right? They may not always be 100% accurate, but they're going to see something glaringly if you let them have a look. So we usually build in time to send those W-2s out for employee review, maybe a week or two early. They can review their forms and they'll let you know, hey, my name's not right. This address isn't right. I should have Pennsylvania taxes. Why am I over here in Indiana, etc. Build in time for them so they can get back to you. You can correct those filings before issuing to the Social Security Administration. And of course, controlling cost, making sure that you're staying ahead of this will reduce your stress as well as potentially grab those discounts. And just because most of the forms have gone out at the end of January doesn't mean that we're done, right? February still has its own level of work. We talked briefly about those W-4 forms. Anyone, of course, is going to need to touch base on these again in February if they filed as exempt from federal income tax. So make sure that you're updating those forms with all of your employees. You're going to also want to make sure that we're archiving and storing all forms. W-4s have to be kept for years. W-2s, if you're not working with a system, like Greenshades that offers online storage through secure encrypted portals that employees can continue to access for as long as necessary. Then we'll need to make sure that we are using a secure, safe portal that will hold for all of the legal requirements. Will it be 3 to 7 years, I believe. We're then going to want to make sure we do a look back. Let's do a retroactive, run an internal audit, right? Have we missed anything? Did we have to do any corrections here? What went well? What did not go well? Document, make process changes, and make sure that we're updating and preparing for next year. Year end starts as soon as the last one ended, right? This is not just a one-time deal. We're constantly making preparations and doing look backs to make sure that we are up to date with where we need to be. Looking at your forms, right? There are always recommended retention guidelines. The IRS minimum retention period for most data is 3 years, right? I think Greenshades, we default to 7 years storage for all of the W-2s and electronic tax forms, just to make sure that we're staying ready for any complex issues or audits, but make sure that you've got long-term storage solutions. Making sure that everything's going to be easily accessible, whether it be in case of an audit or an employee reprint, is vital. And of course, security is high on our mind every time. It's 2025. We're hearing about different breaches right and left. So making sure that this is encrypted and limited in user access is always beneficial. Whether you use a provider or in-house, you got to make sure that they're backed up and ready to go. And of course, how Greenshades can help. I think Josh was going to take this one back over at this point, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've got a little bit to run through, and I do see some questions that have come through. So Kieran, maybe this will give you a minute to review some of these questions, and we can come back here in just a couple of minutes and discuss some of these questions. But thank you for the insights, Kieran. Now, before we go back to the Q&A, I do want to spend just a few minutes showing you how Greenshades can support all that work that you're doing pertaining to everything we're talking about today. Over the next couple of slides, I'm going to share a few ways that we can make your year-end process easier. Some of these are completely free. There's some free resources that I'm going to share with you. And if you haven't already looked at the resources section, I encourage you to go ahead and be grabbing those resources, but we will review those here in a second. But first, for those of you that might be looking for a solution that can simplify and streamline your year-end processing with dedicated support as you go, let's talk about Greenshades year-end forms services. And I'm guessing many of you, perhaps most of you here today, are already familiar with Greenshades year-end services and may have used them in the past. So you already know how much time and frustration often that they can solve. But just to review this a little bit, for those of you that might be new or haven't used this before, With Greenshades Year-End Form Solutions, you can manage all your year-end forms, W-2s, 99s, 95s in one secure place. You can pull data directly from Greenshades payroll, your ERP, or Excel templates so that you're not spending time re-entering or cleaning up data. Then once everything's ready, you can submit filings directly to federal agencies, download e-files when needed, or use traditional print and mail distribution. We have a number of options for you there. To some people, like I just mentioned, this might feel a little early. I've heard both. I've heard some people say, "Oh, that's early. I don't think about that quite yet." I've heard some people say they like to get way out ahead of it to avoid heartache and frustration as things get busier. But I will say, similar to what Kieran mentioned earlier, there are some pricing incentives to move earlier versus later on this. And we certainly at Green Shades would love to help you find, if you are looking for more of an outsourced path, the most economical option for you. We do offer an early bird discount. And much like any provider, there's typically peak season charges. If you wait too long, there's upcharges as things get really busy. So we want to go ahead and facilitate the opportunity now. If you'd like to learn more and start planning ahead and maybe lock in some of those discounted prices, we want to give you a path to do that. And I have seen some questions come in already about these services. So what I'd like to do to make this really simple, before I share some of the free solutions with you, I'm going to deploy a quick poll. Let's see, similar to the poll we did earlier. This poll is basically, would you like to learn more about Greenshade year-end services? There's a couple options here. Yes, I'd like to review my options with a Greenshade team member. For those of you that may have heightened layers of complexity and just need to have specific discussions with an expert like Kieran to learn about what we can do, then this option is there for you. If you'd just like to get detailed pricing information, we would love to engage with you by an email thread and try to get that to you so you know exactly what you're working with. But yeah, go ahead and fill that out. While I am leaving that poll up, I do want to go ahead and review a few of the other resources that you can engage with. You can share with whoever you'd like, your team, your peers, your friends. We do have, first, we put together a year-end forms hub, which is basically, our intent is for it to be a one-stop shop for everything year-end. So quick guides, FAQs, helpful walkthroughs. You can grab the link in the resources section, encourage you to bookmark it. We're going to be updating it. There's already a bunch of resources that hopefully will make life easier for you over the next several months. Second thing to throw out there for you, we've got the year-end forms checklist. This is one of our most downloaded tools every single year. It's a simple printable checklist that walks you through each step of the year-end process and helps you stay organized through the filing season. Again, grab this in the Zoom resources section. We'll also send some links to all of these in the recap email. And finally, the really cool flamingo calendar. I've looked back at the history of these and they look kind of fun, but we do have our 2026 HR and tax calendar that is out. Great thing to keep handy all year. It's got all your key federal deadlines and HR reminders by month, plus some quick compliance and payroll tips. So completely free to download. Go grab that, share it with whomever you like, and we hope you get some value out of that. Moving on, just to remind you again, this is one of 6. So this was just getting the discussion started, just getting us in the mindset of setting the table for the next several months of what needs to happen. We are going to continue to go deeper and deeper in certain areas throughout the coming weeks and months with 6 more or 5 more power sessions. Make sure you check out that resource hub. These sessions, as we have them, will get replaced with recaps and videos, so you can, it'll create a bit of a library for you there. But we encourage you to go out and register for these sessions if you found this one helpful. And so excited to see you again. And let me see. I think that brings us to the Q&A. Kieran, I think I've seen some chat going on. There's some questions in the Q&A. What do you want to cover?
Did see a couple questions here about overtime premiums, and I know that's a hot button issue this year with the big beautiful bill. I'm sure we're probably going to cover it briefly in an upcoming power session as we get through this. But just to kind of set some of this, yes, the overtime qualified overtime premium paid is going to be reported on the W-2s for 2025. We've been given kind of a grace period for this year due to the fact that it was a mid-year rule that came out. A couple of high points on this. It is only the premium. It is not the full 1.5 of the hour that is paid. It is just the premium portion, that 0.5 over the regular rate of pay. It is only for federally mandated overtime. So any state overtime will not qualify. So it might be a bit of a challenge going through 2025 for many of us, making sure that we get in there and check our reports to see how we can calculate that mandatory overtime on a federal level for someone who's working in California, say, who may have much more employee supporting overtime regulations, right? For daily overtime and things like that. Currently, the guidance is to report it in box 14. There's expectation that that may change for 2026, but IRS currently has said that reporting it as other income or overtime income under box 14 with other info will be appropriate. And then I see Janet asking about how to set up an overtime premium pay code in Greenshades.
Hey, Kieran, real quick. Sorry. Hate to interrupt. I'm gonna come right back to you. It looks like almost everybody has filled out the poll. I'm gonna let it sit for like 30 more seconds. If you didn't catch it, if you walked away for a second, that's just if you're wanting any information on our year-end form solutions, make sure you get your vote in. I'm gonna shut that down in 30 seconds. Okay, sorry, Kieran. Back to you.
You're fine. But yeah, Janet, I'd have someone reach out to you just to make sure that we can offer some guidance on this, to make sure that you are set up with that premium code in Greenshades as an existing customer. I see some asking about early bird pricing. So Josh, I'm going to let you and the marketing team make sure to reach out to these folks.
Yes, absolutely. I hope you would put in one of the first two options. We will get out to you and let you know what that looks like, what the dates are. It's hot off the press, and so we are happy to share that with you. If you by chance, well, the poll's still up. If you'd like to change it, go ahead and change it. But if you miss the poll, I'll give you some options on how to reach out and get more details on that as well here in just a second. I am going to pull the poll down right now, though.
Okay. We will be moving, I believe, the IRS, the new e-filing system as FIRE is rolled back. I was just speaking with our compliance team about that today. Where do we find the year-end resources? There actually should be a resources button here in Zoom across the bottom of this panel that should have resources, and it should have direct links to the checklist and some other information linked here.
And just so you know, if you struggle with that, I had a hard time finding it as well. Links will be in the recap emails as well. And then most of the things we've shared will live on that hub as well. So we'll make sure we get it to you one way or the other.
Okay.
Cool.
And overtime pricing, I think we've covered the questions here so far.
Great. Well, hey, I think we're at 25 minutes. Our intent with these was to make sure that they were quick, that we didn't, leak into the 45 minutes or an hour. So we wanted to keep these quick, bite size. And then over time, we'll have a nice, resource library with 6 videos that get into other topics here. So I think we might give y'all a couple minutes back in your day. We really appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit. I will throw it up on the screen. If you happen to miss the poll or just needing a different way to get in touch with us, you can always email sales@greenshades.com. You can visit greenshades.com, and there are, demo request fields and ways to get in touch with us there. If you did indicate one of the first 2 options, we're going to be sharing that with our team, and someone will be reaching out to kind of see exactly what you were hoping to get. If you'd like to book some time or have an email exchange to get the information that you would like. And of course, if you said nothing, that's great. We'll leave you alone. But we're really glad you joined us today. We hope this is helpful. And we hope to see you on the next one and the next 5, actually. So bookmark that hub and go out and register, and we'd love to see you again. So thank you all so much. Kieran, thank you so much for the content and the guidance, and we'll see y'all next time.
Thank you all.